I talked about how we're moving from pipelines to platforms. The first shift that is happening is that when we run these businesses, we stop measuring consumers only. We start measuring participants. We don't just look at who is buying a product. We look at KPIs that show how people are participating in our business. We try to start converting our products into services that integrate into our customers so that we can know whether customers are actually succeeding, and then we start basing our revenue models on the customer success. So we start moving from a consumption-driven model to an outcome-driven model. And in the same industry, if you have one business selling a consumption-driven model and another business selling an outcome-driven model, a customer would want to go with somebody who's selling an outcome-driven model because the customer is succeeding when the company is succeeding, and all customers would want that. A second shift that happens when we move from pipelines to a platform model is that we no longer focus only on figuring out what are the resources that are important to us. What kind of resources do we build? We don't just focus on internal assets. We start focusing on ecosystem assets. There was this tweet by the founder of Airbnb a couple of years back where he says that Marriott plans to add 50,000 rooms by the end of this year. We intend to add the same number of rooms in the next 10 days. And what that shows is that Airbnb is leveraging assets in the ecosystem. It is adding rooms in the ecosystem instead of trying to build all the rooms from scratch. And so this is the second shift that happens where we move from processes to, where we move from resources to ecosystems. A third shift that I talked about initially, and that is the single most important shift, is that we stop managing our internal processes only. We start also managing external interactions in the ecosystem. And this has many different kinds of implications. If you were managing just an internal process, you owned that whole process. Let's suppose you have to manage an external interaction. Let's think of Cabify. Cabify, which helps you find a driver whenever you want to go to some place. An external interaction is when you open the app and you don't find any driver available to take your request. That is a failure of an external interaction. So if you are a business, you want to manage that failure. But the challenge is that you don't own the factors that are leading to that failure. And that is where data becomes important, because data tells you how to manage your ecosystem participants better, how to give them the right conditions by which such failure does not happen. And so this shift from processes to interactions requires a fundamentally different mindset for running the company.